Zach has asked about when you will receive your first extended writing assignment back. Those have been graded. They need to be entered into the computer, but you will probably receive those back tomorrow. You must complete extended writing number 2 for Monday, the rough draft, and then we'll follow the same procedure. You'll have an opportunity in class on Monday to take a look at your rough draft, take a look at the graded copy of extended writing number 1, and improve the rough draft, turn in the final draft on Wednesday. But I can give you some feedback about extended writing number 1 already. In extended writing number 1, some of you are forgetting the definitions of conflict that we labored over here in class. So let me give you an example. I gave you a definition of person versus society conflict. Can somebody remember or possibly even read from your notes that definition? Sarah.
It's a conflict. I don't remember it.
Doesn't have to be exactly in my details, but
When there is a person facing some type of conflict. This is not going to sound very
that's okay. That's
well
okay.
in my head, but I can't.
Connor, give it a shot.
Someone's interest disagrees with society's normal functioning.
Actually, you were thinking of normal functioning of nature, but disagrees with society's interests. Correct. Society's interests, rules, traditions, beliefs, that sort of thing. So, that definition is very specific, where the protagonist's interests conflict with the interests, rules, traditions, beliefs of society. So when I read a paragraph about the pedestrian, what should I read about? What information must be in that paragraph in order for it to be a complete person versus society analysis? Josiah. The set of rules. What are the rules present in the pedestrian, Josiah? What rules is Meade violating? The walking. Stay home at night. Be just like everybody else. Do what everyone else is doing. Those are the rules, traditions, or beliefs that Connor refers to. I need to see that. And in plain language, I need to see that society expects everybody to be the same and stay at home at night. I read many, many paragraphs that did not include that information. Right, Josiah, that's fine. If it's a rule, a tradition, or a belief, it's all basically the same thing. It might be specifically different on the surface, but basically we have the same thing. This is an expectation of society. But in the paragraph, I need to see that spelled out. I also need to see Leonard Mead's interests spelled out. So I should see sentences that say things like, Leonard Mead is interested in being an individual and doing what he feels is right at the time. That's why he goes for walks late at night, because he feels comfortable doing it and he loves the beauty of the night. However, society is interested in everybody doing the same thing. Society is interested in everyone staying at home at night and watching television. When Mead decides to violate the rules and traditions of this society, he faces a person versus society conflict. Do you see how I've just written the paragraph for you just by speaking it? And the only thing that I'm doing in my mind is considering, how do I express the rules and interests of this? How do I express the rules and interests of this? But a lot of you are just lapsing into summarizing the story without thinking about that specifically. So, when we start writing about character, I want you to think about the definitions of the character types that we discussed yesterday. What are the 4 character types that we discussed yesterday? Zach? Excellent. Static, dynamic, round, and flat. Thank you very much, Zach. So I want you to think about the definitions and tell me what you need to include in the paragraphs that support that. Let's start with dynamic. Dynamic character. Jasmine, I'll tell you what. Before you answer, let me give you this. In dynamic character defenses in the paragraphs, I need 3 pieces of information. Can you think about what those 3 pieces of information might be? And you can take a look at your definition of dynamic character. What do you think I need to show that a character is dynamic? Yes, I'm talking about change. You're correct. That is the definition. But 3 key pieces of information that I will need. If somebody changes, Jasmine, what do I need to show to prove that they've changed? Traits where? Yes, but where, traits where in the story?
In the beginning.
And?
The end.
Those are the two pieces of information. Now I need a third. Can anybody help Jasmine out with a third piece of information? Josiah.
And then to prove that they weren't like that before, they also do that before.
Yeah, that's a little bit more difficult. I'm thinking simpler, though. We've got the trait at the beginning, the trait at the end. What other piece of information, Shelby?
Like the trait in the middle of the story?
Transition.
Like
The,
transition.
the point of transition, the moment of change. There you go. If you are writing about dynamic characters, this is what you need to provide. Evidence for 2 contrasting character traits. We might call that trait A and trait B. Zach, you had a question? Oh, in many of the prompts, yes, you will choose which character you write about. I'll tell you about the prompts at the end of class. Okay. And you have to find that moment in the story where they change. A, B, and the moment of change. If your evidence on any of those 3 pieces of information includes quotations, that's fantastic. It makes it really solid, but it doesn't have to. In these writing assignments, you have no quotation requirement. If you didn't get all this, no worry, you will. I want to switch over here, though, and start applying it. Let's play with it. Which character? You now have 6 stories you've read for this class. Which character do you think is dynamic and you want to play with?
The boy from Powder.
Excellent. The boy from Powder. Thank you, Jake. Uh-huh. There we go. No. He has no name. Very sad. I'm sure he has a name somewhere, but just not in the story. Jake.
At first, like, he was all worried and thinking about, oh, if we do this, I might get in trouble, blah, blah, blah.
Nice. Jake, I like the way you say that, but let's narrow it down to a single word. And remember my grammar standard yesterday. If we're giving a trait for the beginning, what type of word must it be? Adjective. Thank you very much, Daniel. Okay, so worrywart. That's interesting. It's technically a noun, but we're getting right to it, Jake. You're on the right track. What do you think, Josiah? Cautious? I think he's going a little bit stronger than cautious, though. Cautious sounds just pretty benign, pretty low-key. Worrisome is getting really better. Connor? Doubtful. Excellent. I was thinking also tense or uptight. So it doesn't matter what specifically the word is, as long as it's an adjective and as long as it's accurate. Evidence. Yeah, evidence comes from book. Shelby.
When he was in the car, he was thinking to himself that he knows, like, the state patrol will be at the end of their, like, right where they're going to go home. When they drop exit or something.
There's a little problem with that, Shelby. That's more toward the end of the book. I want the A trait to come from closer to the beginning of the story. Jake, what you got?
He's in the diner,
Yeah?
and he's talking to his dad saying, we should have left earlier
Mm-hmm.
because the road was closed off.
Mm-hmm. So he's doubting his father's ability to get him home. He's worried over whether or not he will actually reach home on time, right? Find me a page reference there, Jake. That's excellent.